Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Sunday Wire. I'm your guest host today. My name is Bryan McClain, sitting in for Patrick Henningson. I see we've got a lot of our friends, viewers, and listeners piling into the chat rooms right now. Thank you for joining us for this live broadcast. It is September the 28th of 2025, and we've got a great show lined up for you here today. And I'm not going to waste a lot of time because we have guests waiting in the wings. I'm going to bring Basil Valentine on first here. Basil, welcome to the Sunday Wire. How you doing?
Very well, thank you, Hesha. Good afternoon, good morning to everyone all around the world.
Yes, it's great to have you with us. Thanks for being here today. And we're going to go straight to our guests, Basil, because they are in a very interesting environment here. I want to welcome Iara Modarelli and Tadhg Hickey to the program. Welcome, you guys. How are you?
Really good, man. Can I just congratulate you on the pronunciation of my name? That was top tier.
Well, I had a little bit of coaching there, so thank you for that. We're very pleased to have you with us today. So you guys are aboard the flotilla on the way to Gaza. We've titled today's show Breaking the Siege. And there's been a lot of, I've been tracking what's going on. There's been a lot of excitement, and is this the third attempt, or how many attempts have we had now?
Yeah, so we had a first drone attack in Sidi Bou Said port in Tunisia on our one of our main boats called Family. The day after, 24 hours later, our own boat was attacked, and Tadhg was actually on the boat during the attack. So we got drone strike then, and then we had a couple of crazy moments a couple of days ago where our communications were jammed. First, and then we had seen around 15 drones hover above our boat, and shortly after we started hearing explosions. So we were all taking cover and just watching and waiting, desperate and kind of thinking, who's next. They were kind of just arbitrarily attacking one boat after another, and there was some structural damage to one or two boats, and thankfully no one got injured, but some chemical substance was also dropped on another boat of ours, and one of the crew members on board actually got their face burnt. So there was a lot of crazy stuff going on, and of course Israel is doing this to intimidate us, to try to get as many participants to leave the mission before our final leg. It didn't work. We're undeterred and we're sailing on. Tadhg, do you want to kind of mention what happened during the Ayman drone strike?
Yeah, like the drone strike that was on our boat in particular was just kind of surreal, because we have been doing our drills and trying to do everything we can to prepare for the moment. But then when it actually happens, there's something kind of very surreal about it. And that night, and I think the night a few nights ago, where there was explosions in the sky, we were talking amongst ourselves, and it was this kind of uncanny feeling of having a small semblance of understanding of what Palestinians go through all the time, because it was like 3 hours of relentless attacks in the sky, and it was very clear that nobody was coming to help. And I think that's, personally, as a white Westerner, it's probably the first time that I've ever actually truly understood what it's like, even a semblance of what it's like to be in Gaza, like every night with that stuff going on overhead, and feeling like that the world, in terms of world leaders, just doesn't really care enough to intercede. So but to be honest with you, I think we're over the deterrence. Like it's the kind of lashing out of a bully, and you have to stand up to a bully. I think if anything, it's made people more resolved to what they're doing and more determined to reach our goal. We're very aware that we're a humanitarian mission. We're not doing anything illegal. We're non-violent. We want to set up a humanitarian corridor. So we have to take a helicopter view of the fact that this state is largely allowed to bomb a humanitarian mission carrying things like baby formula to a besieged population. I mean, how have we got here as a society that this is kind of normalized, and there's no real accountability for it?
Yeah, and one thing that happened around 24 hours after these attacks was that our various governments were actually called, and embassies were called, contacted by Israel to warn them that they would attack again, and the second attack would be much harsher than the first. And so, this to me seemed absolutely insane, that Israel is manufacturing consent to attack us by quoting that we're terrorists, by genuinely, they've been doing this for weeks, putting out bogus reports, fabricating information, completely false, and just trying to manufacture consent to attack us, worse, kill us. So we're, still here undeterred. We're going to continue that. If we don't break the siege this time, we'll come back again and again until we do. And there's nothing Israel can do at this point to stop the wave of humanity that is sick and tired of watching this genocide unfold day in, day out. And like Tadhg was saying, Palestinians wake up to drones hovering above them every single day. They wake up to bombs every single day. So our focus with this mission is not to center ourselves as heroes of anything, but is to center Palestine, to bring the focus back to Palestine and to Gaza, and to remind people why we're here. So it's very important to us that when these kind of, I want to say almost minimal, and I'm not downplaying the seriousness of the attacks that occurred the other day, but when you compare that to what's happening in Gaza right now, it is still minimal. No one was injured. One or two boats had structural damage, and we're still perfectly fine. 50 plus boats are on their way to Gaza right now. Israel has clearly said what they plan to do with us. Of course, we won't know for certain whether you can't trust Israel's word, but they have said that their plans are to board our vessels, intercept us, kidnap us once again, commit another war crime in international waters, and detain us for God knows how long. But again, none of this compares to what Palestinians go through. So, yeah.
I think it speaks to the narcissism of Western society that commentators and critics are saying that the flotilla is all about publicity stunt for yourselves and, endlessly seeking to move the conversation away from the suffering of the people of Gaza. So I'm very glad to hear you recenter that, Iara, because it's just a projection by Western narcissists. They can't see beyond the possibility that somebody might actually be doing something for somebody else.
Yeah. Do you want to say something?
Yeah, that's a really nice. That's a nice way of putting it. Like, say in the case of Greta Thunberg, we have been privileged enough to spend time with on this mission, and she's exactly opposed to the kind of Instagram culture or the fame thing that, say, the likes of Piers Morgan obviously has kind of made a career out of. So, as you say, I just think it's supremely ironic that somebody is kind of narcissistic and as much of a kind of a media hure, as we would say in Ireland, would be accusing Greta Thunberg, who actually just wants to make the horrendous situations in the world a little bit better and has kind of dedicated her whole life to it. Far from having any ego or being a selfie yacht merchant, she got on our boat and got straight stuck into cleaning toilets, insisted in sleeping where everyone else slept, and I just thought if she was this kind of narcissistic selfie yacht enthusiast, she definitely went about it a very, very strange way by insisting on cleaning toilets on day one.
And a point to add there that I think is important is that we should not have to be on this mission. This mission shouldn't even exist. There shouldn't be hundreds of people potentially risking their lives to open a humanitarian corridor on an illegal siege on Gaza. But we're here because our governments refuse to do anything about this ongoing genocide. They refuse. In fact, they are complicit. As to the response from our governments, I have a German passport. The German government released a statement after being contacted by the Israeli embassy, their lapdog, released a statement to the world saying that they would not, in fact, protect German citizens. And many other governments have done the same. They will not protect us, and they will not send a diplomatic representative to essentially get us out of prison once we're in Israel. So it's absolutely incredible that our governments to this day, after 2 years of a live stream genocide, are refusing to even send a diplomatic representative to get their own citizens out of prison that were imprisoned on an illegal basis. I mean, there are just no words. All these Western complicit states are refusing to help their own citizens in favor of Israel, and that's how deep these ties go. That's how deep the funding is, and the financial benefit that they gain from supporting this genocide. And there just are no words. So we're here at sea, doing the work of our governments, and it really shouldn't have to even exist. This mission should not exist.
No, absolutely. Gustavo Petro, the Colombian president, said in New York last week, shortly before having his visa revoked, that the Hague group had got together and issued a declaration saying that military intervention is now needed to save the people of Gaza. And that's certainly technically the legal position according to the Geneva Convention. I mean, I don't think that's actually going to happen. I've just discovered today that the dreadful creature masquerading as the UK's Foreign Secretary, Yvette Cooper, says the international community is on the brink of securing a peace deal for Gaza. Just today, Sunday. I mean, obviously, we've heard that many times before. And one can't help wondering whether or not your presence in the Eastern Mediterranean has indeed speeded up that process, because, one way or another, it's going to provide a huge, international flashpoint. If 50 boats are boarded and you're all whisked off to Israeli dungeons, the optics on that, at the very least, are going to be very, very bad for Western governments.
Sorry, we just went inside real quick, so we missed a little bit. It was getting very dark outside. But yeah, in terms of, Gustavo Petro, just to mention, shout out to him for being one of the only politicians, the only president that actually showed support for the Global Sumud Flotilla, aside from the Malaysian Prime Minister. It's unbelievable, it's inconceivable that we live in a time where we can't even get, and we are getting a lot of political support from members of parliament that are, that want to see an end to this genocide. But no other president has really called for our protection after sitting out, undercover in cover for 5 hours, waiting to see if we were the next boat to be attacked by a stun grenade or an explosion, and 2 vessels being directly drone striked. The fact that we still don't have the global support. You can compare this to Palestine, to Gaza, that has much less political support, and we're very privileged to be in a situation when you compare that to Gaza. But what we're doing here is we are using our passports of privilege to essentially get the world's discourse moving and recentered around Gaza again, because unfortunately the world seems to have become rather desensitized to this genocide, almost accepting of it, like there's nothing we can do about this. Well, there is something we can do about it, and it's not just getting on a boat and trying to sail to Gaza. There are many things that people can do to talk, to share with friends, to protest, to occupy Israeli embassies if that's what it takes. But I think that at this point of the genocide, we just cannot look away. Anyone who looks away at this stage is completely complicit in what is happening. Do you want to mention a few things about?
I suppose I just want to add on a positive note that something is shifting, obviously. Like you guys know, the strikes going on in Genoa, particularly, I just felt bad that Ireland wasn't the first country in Europe to lead that level of disruption and ungovernability. I'm so glad the Italians have done it, and I just think for people watching, there's a moment now, the Global Sumud Flotilla is just a small part of the moment where it feels like something is happening globally. People aren't buying the Zionist lies anymore. People are questioning any kind of US empire narrative about how the world works and how it's the world's policeman. I think there's a real revolutionary moment that we're living through right now, and it's tragic that it's taken this much bloodletting, but I feel like a lot of cats can't go back in bags. I think we've got to a moment where there's changes coming, and I just urge people to be part of it. I mean, I'm acutely aware that there's a lot of eyes on the Global Sumud Flotilla right now because there's a lot of Westerners on the boats. But the real story, just to go back to it again, is that as Israel's won, as is Israel's won, they've actually scaled up the war crimes that are going on in Gaza right now. I mean, this is what they do when you're looking the other direction. They scale up their atrocities, so we can't take our focus off Gaza. And I just think that the moment that we have the world's attention, we have to try and push for not just, these kind of cursory acknowledgements of a state from, say, Britain and Australia, where we wonder where the state is. How can you acknowledge a state on the one hand and still provide weapons to the other so-called state that's trying to annihilate it? It just makes no sense. It's an insult to our intelligence, and obviously it's an insult to Palestinians, a deep and regrettable one. But yeah, I'm positive that there is a moment right now that we will just be, this Global Sumud Flotilla will be a tiny part in a really seismic change in history.
And just to mention as well that there is another initiative which set sail yesterday called the 1,000 Mad Leans, together with the Freedom Flotilla Coalition. And they launched another 10 boats from Catania. They're on their way to Gaza in a second wave. And I really hope that this is a historic mission. It's never been done before. But, it only took one mission to start for more to then join and say, actually, this is possible. Actually, we can do this. Actually, we can just buy boats and sail to Gaza in mass. And that's what's happening right now. I'm so pleased to know that there's a second wave right behind us that's also going to attempt to break the siege. And maybe we don't make it through the first time. Maybe we don't make it through the second or third time. But eventually we will break the siege. And eventually we will create a humanitarian corridor. And we know right now that we're kind of in uncharted territory because we have no idea what they will do to us. We know that they're not very happy about the amount of military they need to send to intercept 50 plus boats. We know that they're not very happy about that. So they might scale up their aggression towards us. But, I think everyone here that signed up for this mission is acutely aware that their lives are not more important than Palestinian lives. And that's why we're on this mission right now. And that's what it should be. Because a Westerner's life is not more important than a Palestinian's life. So that's what we're trying to show the world. We doubt that we're going to get killed because they can't just come and kill a bunch of activists. But of course, we don't know what they will do. But in the plans that they announced, it looks like we'll be detained. We have a lot of support globally and a great team behind us that will call for our safe return home. And last thing I'm going to say again is that there's no reason why we should have to do this, but here we are, and it's an honor for us to be here. I know for myself, it's an absolute honor to be on this mission. There's nowhere I would rather be. I feel very calm. I feel very. I don't fear Israel at all. And to echo what Greta said in one of her interviews the other day, I fear a world that lacks empathy and that lacks humanity much more than I fear Israel. And I think I can speak for more than just myself when I say that. There is no fear whatsoever on this boat, because when you're on the right side of history, there's nothing to be afraid of.
Right. Well, it's like you said, you guys shouldn't have to be doing this. All these people involved should not have to be doing this. And it's horrific to sit here and talk about governments and media and NGOs and all these nasty pieces of machinery trying to manufacture consent for stopping you guys. I mean, it's absolutely ridiculous. So yeah, we really appreciate you guys taking the time and bandwidth to join us here on the Sunday Wire today. And you know, my gosh, I just don't see how such a eclectic, driven group of international citizens here can be treated this way by Israel, and Tadhg, you're right that there are more eyeballs on this right now than there ever have been. There is forgive the nautical metaphor here, but there's been a massive sea change in public opinion lately. So this is the time. I think you guys are in the right place at the right time. And my goodness, I know that all of us here at Alternate Current Radio and 21st Century Wire are behind you. And if you need to get a hold of us and get on air at any point, speak to Basil or myself or Patrick, and we will flex to make it happen. Because I know this is going to be a very interesting couple of days.
I just want to make one quick point about the situation with Italy in particular, and the fact there are around 40 Italian nationals on the flotilla. I'm not sure if you're aware that just today, the Italian Foreign Minister Antonio Tajani has repeated the proposal made last week for the flotilla to take the aid to Cyprus for eventual redistribution in Gaza by the Roman Catholic Church, of all things, as if the Israelis are going to suddenly allow them unfettered access to Gaza. Meloni has been forced to send 2 ships. I don't know if you've seen them yet. 2 frigates, I believe.
We have.
Similar.
We've seen the ships around us. We're doubtful as to how helpful they'll actually be. They've said that they will kind of escort us to I don't know how many nautical miles off the coast of Gaza. They won't come all the way. And of course, this is kind of just superficial support that we see. I doubt that they'll, it's a stunt more than anything.
It's a stunt, and I think the messages we have from people from Gaza at the moment, how would we explain to them, instead of pursuing going to Gaza, we went to Cyprus?
Right.
There's no sense of meaning that. There's people in Gaza who are like counting on us to come. Some have articulated that they feel it's their last hope. So for us to go to Cyprus, I think would be selling out the promise that we've made to our many Palestinian friends at this point.
Well, also there's a huge NATO base that is operating and sending these drones to collect intel on us on a daily basis. It's getting dark out here, and once it gets dark, we're on night watch, kind of looking out for drones. We've become very good at identifying types of drones over the past few weeks here at sea. But yeah, we obviously don't believe that any government really is going to do what they need to do to protect its citizens. I think aside from Spain, who has sent a Navy ship, which I don't think is to the same extent a stunt as the Italian.
I think the Spanish take a slightly firmer line, don't they? They're a little bit more
right. And I think Spain has done a lot for Palestine, and I mean, not just superficial. They have cut all relations with Israel now officially. So, the next step would be to remove the Israeli embassy. But in the meantime, I mean, we're just, there's a lot of unknowns on this mission. Of course, there is. It's never been done before. But we are kind of just we kind of just rely on ourselves right now, and the Global Sumud Flotilla team and our group of lawyers
and you guys,
the media.
It's not easy to get media, as you can imagine. So every bit of amplification is gold dust at the moment. So we really appreciate you helping us.
Absolutely.
One last question. You're due to arrive off the coast of Gaza on Tuesday or Wednesday. What's the most likely scenario that you've been preparing for?
Well, we've been doing a lot of drills over here, kind of preparing for any kind of scenario, but the most likely scenario that we believe will happen, and also that Israel has stated, is an interception. So, during an interception, of course, we are a non-violent peaceful humanitarian mission. And so if they do anything to us, that will be seen, that will be live streamed on camera, and they will once again expose themselves committing yet another war crime. So, you know, one after the other. So either way, I think that this mission was a victory, whether we break the siege or not. And I'm echoing a lot of Palestinians who've said the same thing, because the mission brought the world's eyes back onto Gaza and re-centered what is happening in Gaza, whether we break the siege or not. We, of course, have that hope that we will break the siege, but we also know the Israeli entity, the Zionist entity, and how they operate. And so they have announced their plans, and those are the plans: interception, detention, putting us in some sort of floating prison, by their own words, detaining us if we resist, whatever that means. And so, you know, we're prepared, but we are of course very aware that if we give them any kind of response or any kind of sudden movement or so, they will use that as a reason to attack and potentially kill us, like they did on the Mavi Marmara in 2010, where they killed 10 plus Turkish activists, so humanitarians. So we're well trained. We've done a bunch of trainings. We continue doing them on a daily basis to really build in that muscle memory, so that when the moment comes, we are completely calm, completely peaceful. And if they then do something to us, the world will see, and the world will bear witness, and they will once again have committed another war crime in international waters.
I would find it very difficult to not at least call them some unpleasant names if they were to board the ship, but that's just me.
And I think a lot of people might also be wondering, in that eventuality, if that were to happen, what becomes of all of the humanitarian aid materials that are aboard the ships? I mean, that's the whole point, right? Like, what happens to all the water and the baby formula and everything that is so necessary?
Well, we know what happens to it, what always happens to it. They steal it. They're thugs. They're going to steal the aid. They're also going to steal the vessels. Couple of reports went around saying that they would board the large vessels and sink the smaller vessels. So either they sink the aid together with the vessel, or they just steal them and tow them back to Ashdod port and never to be seen again. You know, this aid will of course not go to Palestine. It never does, and it never will, because that's not their intention. So they're playing a little PR game with us by saying that we should bring the aid to Ashkelon. Absolutely hilarious to get that kind of suggestion, because aid has gotten in through Israel before, right? I mean, it's just absolutely ridiculous to even think that we would correct course and okay, let's just bring the aid to Israel. Let's go. I mean, it's ridiculous. It's hilarious even. It's really just hilarious.
Yeah, Frank Romano had told us that they said that to you, and it's just like, what? Like, why would they do that? I mean, they're going to do your job for you guys. You know, they're going to do your doing and just deliver that stuff. Okay, I don't think so. That's not the way it's going to work.
And also, Tadhg made a really funny video the other day. I mean, it was pretty hilarious to see the Israeli Foreign Ministry posting a tweet where they claimed that they would do everything in their power to protect the participants of the flotilla, and a day later they bombed us. I mean,
they must have forgot.
I mean, okay, you know, let's just take them for their word. That's why, you know, the plans that they have disclosed that they have with us, we're prepared for those, but we're also prepared for worse, because there's just, you can't trust a word that comes out of the Zionist entity.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, you guys. Anything else you wanna say to the audience before we let you go? I don't want to use up too much of your bandwidth.
Keep your focus on Gaza.
Keep your focus on Gaza, and if you're following the flotilla, there's lots of smaller boats as well. We're on a boat called the Tadgh now, and there's lots of smaller boats that need media coverage as well. So if you go on the Global Sumud Flotilla page and you go to the tracker, you can track all the boats. So some of the smaller boats don't have as many like big personalities or diplomatic support or whatever. So all boats are equal.
All right.
Yeah, well said, Tadhg.
Yeah.
Thank you
Thank
so
you very
much.
Thank you, guys. Pleasure.
Thank you so much, you guys. Be safe out there and
Best
keep
of
us in
luck,
the loop.
you
All
know.
right. We'll see you soon. There they go. Wow, that was an amazing update, Basil. You know, I think back to some of our older broadcasts when we were audio only, and we would, you know, bring people in from, I don't know, Aleppo or, you know, play bandwidth starved places in Syria. And it was always so difficult to get a good connection. So it's really fantastic to be able to have a good video and audio connection.
Extraordinary. From the Eastern Mediterranean, you know.
Yeah. That's really, really cool that we were able to connect with them. So Basil, let's carry on here. Let's bring Ruckus aboard here. We've got Ruckus joining us. Ruckus, hello, welcome to the Sunday Wire.
Howdy. How's it going?
Very good, very good. I want to talk. Well, first, I want to decompress about what we just heard for a little bit here, and then I want to shift and talk about what's going on in the UK. Basil, looks like we've got some new censorship maneuvering happening and all this going on. But Ruckus, what'd you think of the connection that we had there and everything that we just heard from our friends in the flotilla?
Well, it was nice that we didn't have any connection issues. It's good that there's not like drones flying overhead or crashing into boats, pagers exploding. It's very nice to see that thus far everything has been peaceful because we know how certain countries like to overreact because they can say like, well, you know, we consider this one particular group over here to be bad guys, aka terrorists. And, you know, if you're providing assistance to the terrorists, that makes you friends with the terrorists. And by extension, that makes you terrorists too, as far as we're concerned. And hey, that makes you fair game. So I'm always ultimately concerned about the safety of people when they do stuff like this. I'm also seriously impressed by their bravery, not just because of what they're doing, but also because they're on a boat. And you all know I'm not going to do that myself. So there's always that. You know, if I'd made it here on time, I would have asked them, did you see any sharks? But maybe they have less to. They don't need to worry about the sharks. They need to worry about other things. So good to hear from them. And it was a good connection. That was fantastic, and a nice reminder of the time difference because it's like nighttime there already, right?
Yeah, that was kind of neat watching the sunset behind them.
Yeah, I mean, Hesha, you could have a drone strike there in Texas because some elements of the Israeli government, I'm not sure if this is their official position at the moment, have decreed that everybody aboard the flotilla is a terrorist. And by giving them coverage like that, you're providing material support to terrorism. And that means you're fair game. You're a target yourself, you know. So, I mean, considering Charlie Kirk was taken out for daring to question the events of October 7th and ask, was there a stand down? Be surprised if you're still around next week, Hesha. For that matter, me too. I mean, yesterday, George Galloway, the leader of the Workers' Party of Britain, was detained on his way back into the UK at Gatwick Airport under the Terrorism Act. He's been a member of Parliament for about 15 or 20 years on and off, including as recently as last year. But that didn't make any difference. He's had his electronic devices stolen. And, you know, we'll find out more details soon enough. I don't think he's made an official statement yet. But the idea is to put the frighteners on anybody opposing genocide and the Anglo-American Zionist empire and its plans for us. Simple as that, you know.
They love to use airports for this too, don't they? The airport is one of the best places to really mess up someone's day, to really, you know, put some put a hitch in their giddy up when they're just trying to come back or leave to go somewhere. He was coming back from Moscow, wasn't he?
I believe he was, yes. So, I mean, it might be that, in fact, I did see on X, somebody was speculating that it was his opposition to World War III that had landed him in particularly hot water at this time with the British government. I'd like to know who gave the order, because airport staff normally they want a quiet life. Let's get everybody through. And what's the time? My shift finishes in an hour. Let's all go home. So somebody in the Home Office at the direction of a politician somewhere down the line has said, pull him and his wife out and steal their mobile phones and laptops. We want to put the frighteners on them. So who gave that order? That's the interesting question, because I shouldn't think it was purely operational at the airport.
Yeah, it seems much more specific, much more targeted. Seems, I don't know, Ruckus, to me, it seems retaliatory. It seems like it's supposed to have a chilling effect. We've seen this many times before. I remember a lot of people getting denied access to Australia at certain points, people getting denied access to America. But geez, we even had Norwegian tourists, I believe, that were turned away here in America because of social media posts that we're seeing. So this whole chilling effect seems to be something that is being laid on really thick right now. And then this whole like you're terrorist adjacent if you don't buy government and media and mainstream media narratives is really seems to be kind of rearing its ugly head too.
Adjacent, pretty soon it won't be so adjacent. It'll be directly targeted. So since you're a target, Hesher, thank goodness I don't live anywhere near you. I wouldn't want to be close to you when that goes down.
Yeah, wouldn't want to be in a 3-block radius, would you?
That's right. I guess we're all targets now. Anyways, I don't know, the Galloway thing. I'm sure that's exactly what happened. Is somebody? I don't know how involved they have to be this day and age where somebody gets a phone call and this is like a staged and planned thing and a lot of people involved, or if somebody can just quickly and easily, maybe through one phone call or a text message or no phone call, just flick a switch to set up a little, because something just triggers the algorithm, right? Just triggers like, hey, excuse me, sir, we need you to come over here for a minute because it flagged their system or something. I mean, it could, and then, it's so much easy for them to say, oh, this was a simple mistake, but it sends the message. It creates the question in your mind. It comes at a time when right now there's well over 2 million signatures for people who are upset about this digital ID thing that's going on. And of course, we've been seeing the news here on this side of the pond about how people are being, arrested for social media. It's happening like in Australia too, I believe. And I'm just like, this is the craziest thing. I think it's going to come here to America soon as well. But I don't know. The Galloway thing is that's where things go too far. When sure we sit here and complain about Trump putting pressure on networks or networks deciding to put pressure on themselves to gain favor with the current administration by having certain people's shows canceled in the wake of political high profile events, the Charlie Kirk thing and Jimmy Kimmel and whatnot. But to use the FCC to go after somebody, right, is one thing. But to literally start arresting people who are journalists, podcasters, folks who actually go out and do the footwork in this particular industry, in this space. I mean, that's a whole nother story. I mean, that's different. If you want to like shadow ban us or cancel us online, sure. That freaking sucks. But to literally come and start arresting us, to send drones to us like we've been joking about here, that's the phase that we're moving into. Like Alex Jones does this whole InfoWars thing. And I always thought, oh, that's just a cheeky metaphor. Like we might be entering a hot InfoWars very soon. They might actually want to send bullets against our speech, as evidenced by the Kirk event. Take it for what it's worth, whether or not you believe whatever. The message is clear. Everyone walks away from that, be like, oh, all this guy was doing was just out there speaking his truth, and speaking your truth got met with a bullet in the neck or where the back of the head, wherever it may have been or come from, whatever your theories are about all that. You see what I mean? So again, the message is the same. So we have certainly entered a turning point into a new dangerous territory involving all of this stuff, which again leads me back to being concerned when people hop on boats and head into a very dangerous situation, which they shouldn't have to be in the first place, because, it's 2025 and, I thought we cared about people starving to death and people step up and do the right thing, but, I guess not.
Yeah, Yeah, absolutely. I've got a video message from Patrick Henningson here, hot off the press here. So let's give it a watch. See if we can bring Patrick into the program here.
Very important Sunday Wire broadcast this week. Thank you, Hesher, for guest hosting this very important Sunday Wire broadcast this week. Much appreciated. Big thank you to the rest of our ACR team, and also to our listeners, to our audience right across all the live platforms on the comment streams. Thank you guys for your engagement on this. The Global Sumud Flotilla, this is an unprecedented historic effort. These are people volunteering from all over the world. They're all putting it on the line, not just for the people of Gaza, but I believe, and I'm sure many will probably agree with me, they're putting on the line for humanity at such a crucial juncture in history. Never before have we seen this kind of a siege. We're going into the second year, 2-year anniversary of October 7th. It's right around the corner, just in a couple of weeks. And here we are. I can't believe that we're having to cover this issue, let alone the fact that there's a complete blockade on food, water, medical supplies, basic humanitarian relief, medical care. Israel continues to destroy every habitable structure in the Gaza Strip, every hospital, every school, every university, churches, mosques. Nothing is off limits for this bloodthirsty IDF being fully backed by the United States government, being backed by the UK, being backed by France, by the EU. It's unbelievable what's been allowed to happen. So here we are. And, right off the bat, I also want to say a big shout out to, hopefully we connect our guests. We've connected our guests, hopefully, from all the different boats. I want to give a big shout out to Iara Modarelli, who's also a special contributor for 21stCenturyWire.com. She's there on this ship as well, joining this effort, as well as Dr. Frank Romano and the Irish performing artist Tadgh Hickey as well. So the three, hopefully we've connected or are able to connect all three this week. But regardless of how we do on our remote connections, it's really important, I think, that people hear from the people involved in this flotilla directly. And we've covered these in the past when there were single boats coming, and these were the Madeleine, also the Conscience was attacked, and some of these other single boat efforts that raised a lot of awareness. Now, this is on a whole new scale, and we're hoping this is going to capture the imagination, or at least and the attention of the global community more widely, more the mainstream community. And I think it's happening. A lot of the mainstream media are now being forced to cover this. Major media outlets that have been basically carrying water for Israel for the last 2 years have been forced to cover the fact that these boats, including Frank's boat, Frank Romano's boat, which I believe is called the Spectre, was attacked by Israeli drones. I mean, in international waters on a humanitarian mission. So total violation of international law, maritime law, everything. Europe has nothing to say about it. The United States has nothing to say about it. Luckily, there are some mainstream media outlets. Even CNN covered it. Okay, so if you're in the mainstream and you're not covering this, well, shame on you, but par for the course, quite frankly. But this is unfortunately the dire state of affairs that's happening right now with this. So I don't know. I really, we're all praying for that everybody involved in this flotilla is going to be safe. We're praying that they're going to achieve their mission, which is to deliver humanitarian aid to the beleaguered surviving population in Gaza. We're praying for all of those things, and we hope that that's going to happen. We know that they're going to complete their mission one way or another. Of course, besides physically delivering the aid, which the people in Gaza are in dire need of, anything they can get, even fresh water. Besides that, it's really about raising awareness. And that's, I think it has to happen now. It's now or never. There's going to be no second chance here. We are witnessing one of the worst genocides. Maybe you could call it, many are calling it a Holocaust. but it's happening right in front of the world's eyes. It's happening in real time. Nobody can claim ignorance. Oh, I didn't know. Oh, it's not as bad as we thought it was. No, that's not going to be a suitable excuse. So my final word on this is we've been covering this from the beginning of the Gaza flotilla effort way back months ago. And we are just blown away by all the resources that have come together, all the different people that have come together to help each other, to donate, all sorts of great people with great skills and great personal qualities as human beings, special people. Many of them have come together in this effort. It just goes to show you what can be accomplished with quite frankly very little in terms of resources, but a lot of willpower, a lot of dedication, a lot of compassion, and all the best qualities of humanity, I think, are embodied in the Global Sumud Flotilla. And also, let me say, these are very brave people. These are people that, that quite frankly, are more afraid of what the situation that's been allowed to get out of control, that's been allowed to persist, this horrific situation in Gaza. The people on this flotilla are more afraid of what that means for humanity than they are even about their own personal safety. You see, they're willing to take that personal risk, and probably many more would have liked to join them but couldn't. But that shows you how important this is for everybody. This is not just isolated in the Gaza Strip. This is not an issue about Palestinians or Arabs in Gaza. Okay, this has ramifications regionally, internationally, and globally. What could happen as a result if this is allowed to continue, this type of lawlessness, this type of barbarism by Israel and those who are backing it, who are sponsoring it? What that means for the future of humanity is grave indeed. That's the important thing that people need to focus on. That's what's really, really important. Everybody keep that in the back of your mind. Anyway, Hesher, thanks again for holding down the fort. And thanks to all our guests if we're able to connect them, the team at ACR and everybody. And have a great rest of the show. And again, what an incredible group of people. What more can we say? I'm Patrick Henningson. Thank you guys for supporting us. Thank you for joining us. We'll see you very soon. Very soon. Peace out.
All right. Very good. Thank you, Patrick, for sending that in. It's great to see you out there. I see you've got helicopters circling up there as well.
Got the big drone.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, Basil, do we have Frank Romano coming up still in the show today?
I don't think so. I can send him a reminder, but I don't know that he's got a connection actually today.
Okay. All right. Well, if he does drop in, just let me know, chime in, let me know, and we can bring him aboard. But Basil, I wanted to ask you what is going on with the digital ID topic right now in the UK?
Well, kind of out of nowhere, really, because it wasn't in their manifesto. The Labour Party have decided that they suddenly want to introduce a compulsory digital ID for all UK citizens. Now, the timing of this is very interesting. Some people say it's just to distract from Keir Starmer's deep unpopularity. He's the most unpopular Prime Minister in British history, well, certainly since the polling began about 45 years ago, minus 66% his approval rating, and rumblings of discontent, well, very loud noises of discontent from Labour MPs, because the polls say that Labour will be all but wiped out at the next general election and replaced by a Nigel Farage-led reform administration. Of course, there's no immediate prospect of a general election in Britain. We won't have one for another 4 years unless something dramatic happens, because with the vagaries of our electoral system, Labour managed to get a thumping great majority on about a third of those that voted, more like a fifth, a sixth of the total adult population. But anyway, Starmer's stunningly unpopular, but this is a desperately unpopular move. I mean, there's no public demand for this. As I say, it wasn't in the manifesto. The claim is that it will be used to prevent illegal immigration. Well, the people coming across the channel in boats throw their passports in the English Channel. They make sure they divest themselves of all identification before arriving in the UK. That's largely so that if they are deemed to come from a peaceful country like Albania or Turkey, where there's no real need to claim asylum and they are therefore classified as economic migrants, then they can be processed and possibly deported much quicker than if they just say they don't speak English and claim to come from somewhere like Iraq or Afghanistan, and that they were persecuted or in mortal danger if they're repatriated. So Labour want to introduce these digital IDs, so they say, and force everyone to produce the digital ID on their smartphone in order to get a job. But of course, we all know that the digital ID will be inextricably linked to a new central bank digital currency, very likely to vaccine status, to incorporate health records, and of course, possibly political opinions, social media score, social credit score, and all the rest. Now, interestingly, this has produced pushback from all sorts of, political, the divergent opinions. Reform and people like Richard Tice, who are even on the right of reform, are opposed to it. Civil libertarians are, of course, diametrically opposed to it. The Liberal Democrats are opposed to it. I hope and believe the Greens will be opposed to it. But some elements of the Labour Party are opposed to it. And certainly those outside the Labour Party on the left, whether it's the New York Party, Jeremy Corbyn and allies, Zara Sultana, Workers' Party, and the rest, they're all opposed to it as well. So who's in favour of it then? Well, the neoliberal neo-fascists, the authoritarians, the Eurocrats, the technocrats, the people in bed with Larry Ellison and Palantir and all the rest. The real danger, as I've said many times, comes from this authoritarian fake centre. And they're pushing it, and they're pushing it hard. There's a petition been going around actually since January opposing the introduction of digital ID. It's now been signed by about 2.3 million people. That figure was only 500,000 on Friday and continues to climb. I would imagine it'll get to at least 3 million, if not more. And mass civil disobedience is planned. There will be huge marches, I would imagine, very regularly. I know a lot of people simply will not have this. This is what the conspiracy theorists said was going to happen 25 years ago. It's part of a control matrix. Larry Ellison has been very open about the fact he wants to see everybody on their best behavior. He, of course, is an ultra-Zionist, so that means no bad at talking about Israel, or we will turn off your ID and you won't be able to buy a loaf of bread or get on a train or anything at all. Well, that's a very dystopian picture, but digital ID opens the door to that possibility. That's the whole point. And I hope it's stillborn. I think it may well be Keir Starmer's poll tax moment. Back in the 1980s, Margaret Thatcher tried to replace property taxes with a head tax, where you would just be charged per head for local government services. That led to riots on the streets of central London and had to be abandoned, and was one of the things that hastened her demise. I hope and believe that the same thing will happen to the digital ID. It will be completely unenforceable. That's even if they get it through the House of Commons and they try and force it on everybody. I think, large numbers of people will disagree. Of course, you get the sort of, if you've got nothing to hide, then you've got nothing to be afraid of. And I saw a tweet saying, well, that's like saying, why have curtains? If you've nothing to hide, then why bother buying blinds or curtains for your windows? And perhaps all those who say if you have nothing to hide, you have nothing to fear, should be banned from putting up curtains, because obviously they're very keen on total transparency and complete lack of privacy. Last point on this, the word on the street is that the firm who are likely to be granted the contract for the development of this nightmarish scenario is run by, yes, you guessed it, Tony Blair's son, Ewan Blair. Contract reported to be worth £100 billion. Blair himself has close to £400 million worth of shares in the said company. And of course, it's inextricably in bed with Larry Ellison's Oracle. So the whole thing is a nightmare. I hope it wakes a few people on the right up to the depth of Zionist infiltration in the so-called cybersecurity area, because Zionism isn't simply about massacring as many Palestinians as possible. It's also about exerting control over the lives of us in the West, not just to stop us from pro-Palestine activism or seeking to undermine the Zionist entity, but also control for its own sake. I think these people get a very perverse pleasure out of the fact that they believe they can control other people's lives.
And I mean, do you guys not have already many forms of physical and digital IDs available in Europe and in the UK? I mean, it seems to me like we've got friends in the chat saying, hey, we've got plenty of IDs already. I mean, what it almost seems like this is sort of a technocrat shot over the bow, kind of like we saw here in the United States with the attempted creation of the disinformation board under Biden. It's like it kind of feels like we're seeing, just chipping away at the idea of, privacy, chipping away at the idea of anonymity, the ability to have anonymity in what you do online and all that. So it almost seems like it wouldn't go through. It's almost not meant to go through in some cases, unless there's some sort of catalyzing event that goes along with it. Look, Ruckus has your boy up there, Basil. There he is, right there. Clearly he likes this idea. Clearly he stands to benefit from this idea and those that he colludes with. But I don't know. It kind of seems like this. Even Boris Johnson said, "No way, I'm not going to use that." So this seems like it's going to be dead on arrival, sort of.
Well, we hope so. We hope that the spirit of the British people is sufficiently roused to utterly reject this, and indeed to use it as a stick with which to beat this wretched Starmer government and hopefully bring it down. We hope that Starmer is replaced within the next few months. Some people say that he's an MI5 plant designed to destroy Labour and usher in a reform government. But I think the digital ID is actually very much an MI5 plan, and reforms say, at least at the moment, that they're opposed to it. But whether or not they would abolish it if it was subsequently introduced, I don't know. There's nothing that the digital ID can do if you want to sort of prove your identity to get a job. That's the way they're trying to sell it initially. That you can't do with a passport. You have to produce a birth certificate to get a passport. And, if it's good enough to enter the United States, that fortress, then my goodness, it should be good enough to get you a job. So there's absolutely no need for it at all. Of course, a lot of older people don't have smartphones. They don't use smartphones. They don't want smartphones. So it's unworkable on a practical level, but that won't stop them trying to force it through, nevertheless. I mean, this has been the centerpiece of the control grid agenda for many, many years. People like David Icke were talking about this kind of thing 25, 30 years ago. People are now saying, the sort of pro-digital ID commentators, oh, it's a conspiracy theory to say that this is part of a control grid. Hello,
it's in their own writings. I mean, all you got to do is read Klaus Schwab's book, or anything. Watch Peter Thiel talk. That they've straight up said that this is part of the control grid. That this has been the plan for a very long time.
Yeah, exactly. So I hope that we're going to kick it into touch. I don't often go on activist marches, but I would go on one to show my antipathy towards compulsory digital ID. And that was the interesting thing about the way that ministers announced it last week. There was no sort of consultation period, or, we'll introduce it voluntarily to begin with. No stepping stones approach. It's like, we're going to introduce mandatory digital ID for every adult in Britain, and you're going to put up with it, or we're going to severely restrict your ability to operate in the modern world. That was the threat, and it fundamentally alters the relationship between the individual and the state. That's the whole point. You cease to be a completely sort of, some people would argue that even now you're not the sovereign individual, but it represents a huge shift in terms of not just privacy, but accountability, identity, ownership, in favor of a bureaucracy. And then, of course, there's also the incompetency and potential for hacking. All sorts of databases with personal information held by commercial organizations are hacked on a regular basis. People are blackmailed about their personal information, or it's stolen by people wanting to use it for their own financial gain. So we're all very familiar with this, any number of examples. So what makes people think that a largely incompetent Home Office would be able to protect anybody's data any better than anyone else? But I personally don't want to rely on that argument. To me, that's sort of largely irrelevant. It's the philosophical arguments, if you like, that really need to be able to win this whole case on their own.
Yeah, the most I would wager. I know I can speak for Ruckus, because he just told me the other day he's had his data breached and got notified recently for something that wasn't even recent. It was like he just found out it was breached a long time ago. And the most egregious PII breach I've ever had, personally identifiable information, was done by the DA in California, the main state district attorney in California. Unleashed a crazy database to Davis University, which had it front facing, and it was to do with anyone who had purchased a firearm, anyone who had applied for a concealed carry license. They gave Davis University, for research purposes, access to all that information, which they shouldn't have and be storing in the first place. The state shouldn't even have it and be storing it in the first place. It's quite frankly illegal by many people's analysis. But yeah, they leaked everybody's driver's license numbers, their names, their ages, their drone coordinates, their street address. All that stuff was just available on the open internet for a long time, for like really long time before it was discovered and taken down. But same with government. I've been in government databases in my old job and had those databases leaked. So this whole idea of, oh, we're going to protect your data, but guess what? All your personally identifiable information, which could be used to steal your identity, crack into your accounts, it's all going to be maybe not in one place. It might be not technically or correct to say it's all in one place, but when it's all connected to that primary key in a series of databases, it may as well all be in one place as far as a hacker is concerned. Ruckus, what's your take on this, man? We've talked a lot over the years about, I think Dustin Stockton elucidated it real well when we met with him last time, the three legs of the stool of technocracy: universal basic income, digital IDs, and central banking digital currencies. And once those are in place, we all know what happens next. I hope we all know what happens next, because that's when you start looking into, science fiction dystopia movies to try to see what the path forward looks like.
It's like two of my longest series ever on the Daily Ruckus combined into one. Back in the day, during the medical emergency period, or the post period, the long 2 weeks after that, when we had the wonderful things arrive, there was this same argument, of course, about digital IDs in the context of vaccine passports. And I did an entire series, my old show, before I switched to video. In fact, I think that was the last series I was working on before I took my first sabbatical, which is funnily enough. Anyways, there was a lot of back and forth going on in the UK in particular about that subject. It was a hot button issue, and a lot of the same arguments and things that Basil just mentioned today were being discussed back then. So it's almost as if people didn't learn their lesson. Like, nothing has changed. It's just a brand new excuse to usher in the exact same quote unquote solution from the same types of people. But is it coming from the same types of people? My question for you, Basil, is, are people currently who are for or against this new version of a digital vaccine the same type of people? What was their stance on the digital vaccine when it was presented to them during the pandemic? Was it is this a political thing? Are people split? Like here in America, it would be like a left-right thing, because I don't understand how the difference between the parties there, but I imagine it's very similar. Yeah.
You mean digital ID based on, or like we had ID passports or digital passports based on vaccination status back then, right?
Versus what the current reasonings are, and I guess there's a number of different reasonings that they're trying to push it forward. Like the immigration, I think, is the biggest one worldwide. That's why I think a lot of countries will be pushing this stuff forward. But you got the kids' online safety thing too is a big deal. But whatever their reason is I get the impression, I don't want to. That's why I'm asking it. But it seems like certain people who would be like, yeah, you can't do that because that's against their freedom, or people who were against the jibby jabs, and stuff like that. But now, if it's like, well, I don't want, my kids to be harmed online, or I don't want to deal with these crazy lunatic terrorist immigrants, I have a feeling that their views have shifted in a way. But correct me if I'm wrong.
The so-called freedom movement that came out of opposition to lockdowns and mandatory or near mandatory injections is, by and large, from what I can tell, diametrically opposed to the introduction of digital ID. But I would say the digital ID coalition is bigger than the Freedom Coalition, which was very largely mischaracterized as being alt-right or conspiracy theorists, etc., even though, of course, it incorporated many other people from all sectors of society. So this is a broader-based coalition against the mandatory digital IDs. It includes libertarian conservatives who would have been swept along by the hysteria surrounding COVID and thought that they were doing their patriotic duty by having an injection. But they don't regard it as their patriotic duty to have a digital ID because there isn't the same societal requirement for it. And the same applies to many centrists and many on the left as well. Of course, strangely, well, not strangely or whatever, but very largely the so-called left of centre in British politics, with a few notable exceptions, we're all in favour of the injections. I think it's not the case so much with digital ID at all. So, that's why I'm optimistic that this can be defeated, because there isn't really, other than this sort of, as I say, the sort of von der Leyen Larry Ellison, technocrat, authoritarian, neoliberal, neocon, actual fascist, fake centrists. I think you know who I'm talking about there. Other than them and their amplifiers in the corporate media, nobody else in Britain is really interested in this. The dreadful Zionist leader of the Conservative Party, Kemi Badenoch, hasn't committed one way or another. Former leader of the Conservative Party, William Hague, has come out in favour, but many other noteworthy Conservatives have come out against. One of the Reform MPs has circulated a letter, which interestingly I saw was signed by one of the independent group of MPs who were forming, one of the Muslims who won on an anti-genocide ticket last year. He's also signed the letter against digital ID. Now, he and Richard Tice will be poles apart on just about everything else, but they're both signed up for this. So, there's no real political push for this, even in the House of Commons, let alone in wider society. It's exclusively being pushed by, the elite, its supporters, its mouthpieces in the media, etc. That's all.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was getting at with the comment I made about a catalyzing event. It's like with COVID, we had the fear campaign, we had the global, case demic ticker, all that thing, and all the messaging. Like that was absolutely a catalyzing event. Whether it was legit or not, your mileage may vary, but we don't have that yet when it comes to digital IDs. And that's kind of the scary part when we talk about digital IDs. It's like, well, what kind of event could drive people into an identity politic or a nationalist, worldview sort of decision that would make them say, yeah, I need that, I want that. And I think a lot of people look to like cyber polygon sort of events for that sort of thing, right, Ruckus?
Or I was going to suggest, because just like we witnessed during the pandemic, there was a certain Operation Warp Speed that progressed something along at a frighteningly fast pace. And we saw them do something very similar, move something incredibly fast that they probably should not have, this time Project Stargate. I believe the catalyzing event is going to involve the labor market that has been completely, absolutely devastated and changed. The whole economy and everything is flipping upside down thanks to AI and robotics. And I think that is the elephant in the room that a lot of folks just don't want to admit. We see them fudging some numbers on the books when it comes to labor things inside the government. The administration here in America is trying to make it seem like everything is okie dokie. Meanwhile, companies, big Fortune 500 companies and AI people and chief technology officers and smart folks have been running around making the rounds saying, oh, by the way, AI is going to replace everybody and we're in for a world of hurt. The world is changing. Nothing is going to stay the same. And it's like, it's such a huge, profound change of everything that you'd think that everybody would be talking about this, but they're not. We're distracted by events and things. So I believe, yeah, we got to worry about the cyber polygon. But from what I've seen, Hesher, there's a lot of contingency things put in place. So, yes, maybe we lose access to our banking, but hey, how convenient would it be that they rush in with their universal basic central bank digital currency version after we emerge from that chaos? And then, yeah, if you want to access that, I'm afraid you need the digital ID. But again, that's going to be a tough sell. We can still fight back and say, well, you can't do that. That's not fair. But what's the catalyzing event is like, well, what if we just instead, everything sucks and we're not going to force you to do this, but similar to how they did it with the jibby jab thing is, hey, if you want access, if you want to go to the concert, if you want to go out to dinner, if you want to get on a plane and go to vacation, if you want to have a job and enter the workforce, then yes, you must have this digital ID. And I guess technically they could do that, right? I mean, at the end of the day, wouldn't it be the company that's asking, like, if you want to work here, we need to see your ID, right? You know, they did this kind of shit during the pandemic. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, absolutely. And hey, you want that?
One of the very few politicians in Britain to take a principled stance over COVID was Andrew Bridgen, who lost his seat last year. He says today, we are being played across the board. And of course, if Starmer gets the war he wants with Russia, that mandatory digital ID will be enforced, civil contingencies will be triggered, elections will be cancelled, and the Blair family and many others will get their money. Well, it won't do them much good if we're in World War III, because we'll all be annihilated. But nevertheless, the possibility of, you know, heightened tensions with Russia, some kind of civil emergency, real or imagined, could be the pretext for it. You know, perhaps more terrorist attacks, perhaps another so-called pandemic. You know, that would push public opinion in the required direction, because it definitely needs a nudge at the moment, because public opinion is not with this at all. I mean, the petition opposing it is growing exponentially. It wouldn't surprise me if it ended up at sort of somewhere north of 3 million, which you may say, well, out of 60 million people, that's not very many. But for an online petition, that's actually an enormous number.
Yeah, that's a significant sample space right there. Much more significant than you get in most. Let me, the one of the segments of this show that is important to us is the smartest people in the room, which is quite often you out there watching and listening. A couple comments I wanted to highlight here. Chief Wiggum, what's up? Says they want to enslave people and countries. No wonder they lend fake money in interest. Yeah, and just imagine where that goes under this new paradigm. I mean, we basically would have, it's not like we have much transparency now about all the black bag money and political money and all that stuff being shuffled around. But just imagine it, that situation under this new paradigm of, central banking, digital currency, digital IDs. And the thing with the digital IDs meshing with the central banking digital currency and the UBI is that's when, once those are all in place and required somehow, probably after a catalyzing event, we've got several to choose from, all of a sudden you've got social credit ruling your access to those things. So if you get deemed a mean speaker, if you get deemed someone that they don't is not welcome in the grocery store, in the pharmacy, whatever, all that stuff can just be turned off with the flick of a switch. So gone will be the days of getting pulled into the security room at the international airport thing. You won't even be able to get your ticket. You won't even be able to have a passport, and we've got this whole real ID floating around here in the United States right now. Everybody's moving to real ID. And, a lot of people question that, like, what does real ID actually turn into? Is it sort of a front for, front loading this sort of societal change? I don't know. But Chief Wiggum makes a good point there about enslaving people and countries, because once you're stuck in a system that gives you a social credit rating that then allows or disallows you to live at a certain level of comfort and freedom, we're off on a different adventure.
Yeah, very interesting. There's protests taking place outside the Labour Party conference in Liverpool against Starmer. He's a uniquely unpopular figure. I mean, all around the country, particularly with those on the so-called far right, as well as those on the left of the Labour Party, and particularly those outside the left of the Labour Party. The George Galloway, Zara Sultana, Jeremy Corbyn faction is very unpopular with them. I mean, he's, as I say, minus 66, but he's particularly hated in a way I don't remember since probably, I mean, Blair was hated, don't get me wrong. They're all hated one way or another. But he's hated more than anybody I can remember since Margaret Thatcher was hated for, her role in crushing the miners' strike and decimating British industry in the early 1980s. He's hated by rural communities for his introducing this inheritance tax on farms. That means a lot of family farms will have to be sold when the current generation dies. He's particularly hated amongst this sort of nascent patriotic flag-wearing movement. And interestingly enough, they've been carrying banners today outside the Labour Party conference saying no to digital ID, alongside the Cross of St. George, the red cross on the white background, which has been been interpreted as a far-right symbol. Now, Starmer's been very keen to portray those people as fascists, and that this is one of the central messages of his conference speech, that he's in a battle for the soul of Britain, and he wants to unify people and not be divisive, and they're fascists and they stand out. But he's the one introducing the fascist policies. So it's, I've been sort of expecting this kind of, ironic dichotomy, this kind of paradox for some time, really. And current events really bring it into very sharp focus.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, here's another comment I wanted to throw up here. Thank you, Juliana. Juliana says, has anyone mentioned the UN Pact for the Future that was agreed upon last week by 193 nations? It includes digital ID. How about that? So that's pretty interesting. I have not read up on that. I saw some posts about it happening, but I haven't looked at the details there. Thank you, Juliana. Isn't that interesting timing, Ruckus?
Interesting or obvious?
Ominous, perhaps? Ominous.
Come on. I would think by now that the viewers of this show understand that the United Nations has plans and agendas and years and dates associated with them, and that, yes, the world leaders do get together and do basically, practically, for all intents and purposes, secretly agree to these different types of things. Sometimes they do these types of things out in the open. Everybody can find it online, hear the speeches, read it on, learn about it. But unless they project it to the entire world and blast it on your social media feed and repeat it over and over again for 24 hours, nobody knows. And, so yes, they can just then go to their own countries, implement this stuff and act as if they came up with this all by them, little lonesomes, like, oh, he's such a smart dude. I would have never thought of doing that. That's great. Oh, shoot, look at that. This guy over here in this country is doing the exact same thing. Weird. It's just coincidence that they just met like weeks prior and agreed to do these exact same things together at the same time by putting their names and pen to paper. Just coincidence, though, I'm sure. It's a conspiracy theory or something, Hesher.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, right. Well, it certainly is a good barometer, for those globalist-oriented nations that want to take on, UN deals like this, to say, oh, we're going to roll it out, we're going to propose it. That's a great way to kind of test the public and see, how it's going to be responded to.
Ultimately, none of these government organizations, bodies would hold. I don't think legally there is grounds, because countries have their constitutions and whatnot. So I mean, I think that there's a long road ahead for them, unless, again, a major catalyzing event and they have certain systems put in place that makes it easier for them to maintain hold of their control, which they appear to be losing rapidly. So it's almost as if they need to accelerate and amplify the agendas. Oh yeah, that's probably what's going on. It's never something that we expect. It's never something we can sit here and think about and game theory outright. Even if we asked AI or used a magic 8-ball or spoke to somebody who crossed over to the other side using a psychic and a Ouija board or whatever. Elon Musk is usually right when he says that it's usually whatever the most entertaining outcome is. So I believe maybe the catalyzing event that's going to bring the entire world together on this technocratic grid surveillance with the digital IDs and all that fun stuff, the bells and the whistles, aliens. It's got to be aliens.
There's always that card. There is always that card.
I mean, from outer space, not from another country, of course.
Well, we got both those cards actually. We could see both of those ones whipped out.
Your green card would have a different meaning, right?
Yeah, little green card. Neil in the Discord chat says over 2.3 million have signed the parliamentary petition against digital ID, but they will ignore it. Right. Yeah, that's
I mean, there has to be a debate on it in Parliament now, because the threshold, believe it or not, is 100,000 signatures. So that'll be not. I mean, is there going to be a free vote? That means MPs allowed to vote according to their conscience. There are an awful lot of Starmeroid robots in his government who voted to ban Palestine Action, for example. So, I mean, I think even in a free vote, it wouldn't necessarily be defeated, because some of these MPs just, think about their own careers. And if they vote in favour, it carries favour with the leadership. Although, on the other hand, at the moment, Starmer is so unpopular that he was apparently having difficulty filling junior ministerial positions because people don't want to be part of his wretched government. Because, that it means they're more likely to lose their seat at the next election if they can claim, oh, well, yes, I'm a Labour MP, but, I didn't like Keir Starmer or what he was doing, then they might hang on to their seat. So, remains to be seen. But the big pushback has to come from the public, and if they do attempt to introduce it in the form of non-compliance.
100%. Yeah, that's exactly the thing, that non-compliance. Look here. Speaking of, Jack K says, now you know what the COVID nonsense and fascism was all about. I tried to warn people not to comply with any of the BS, or here we'd be. And people wanted me in a camp. Yeah, can relate to that. Can totally relate to that. We had the same experience over here, and we seem to have experienced shadow banning and other effects from it, as well as people saying horrible things about us like that, like you should be in a camp. So shouts out to everybody that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, did the COVID farrago move the Overton window such that, as Ruckus said, they tried to bring in a track and trace system in the UK, on which apparently £34 billion was spent. Nobody's got any idea where all that money went. That's another story. But it introduced into public discourse, into the zeitgeist, the concept of QR codes to gain access. Since then, of course, they've become commonplace as theatre and concert tickets. So people are much more used to being asked to produce a QR code, and via the so-called stepping stones approach. Next, you have a QR code in order to identify who you are in 101 different scenarios. But the digital ID cannot be divorced from the CBDC, from the central bank digital currency. That's the key thing. And that means if you're a naughty boy, no money for you.
Right? Here's a great example. I only emerge after dark. Thank you. PayPal has threatened to fine people for anti-Semitism.
Meaning pro-Palestine, meaning being anti-Zionist, of course.
Yes.
That's what we mean.
Yeah. Anti-war, anti-genocide. So many different words you can choose other than antiseptic.
That's right.
Don't be anti-fascist. Apparently that's bad now.
Oh, right.
That's right. I mean, that's bizarre, isn't it? That attempt to sort of ban a non-existent organization with full force, I think is the term Trump used,
Yeah.
So,
or ban an organization that's full of feds.
Yeah.
What? Someone
it's
make
not
that
an organization. We need to stop saying that, because that's part of the biggest lie about this whole thing that he's doing there. It's not a thing. It's not a group. It doesn't have a headquarters. It doesn't have a leader. Like, what are you doing? Like, people are crazy.
Right. Yeah.
Or maybe reveal if there is a headquarters, and if maybe it's at Langley or in somewhere else in Virginia.
There's always that maybe they were just admitting what maybe some people suspected all along. It does have a headquarters.
Is, folks. Sorry.
Boy, that address looks familiar.
Yeah, that's crazy. This whole concept of sending the military to Portland or something like that. You know, this is, and then I noticed that General Flynn was on InfoWars yesterday or day before, completely, he and Alex just pushing the Civil War topic, the whole like deep state versus, you know, the Trump administration, like, you know, as if anybody's buying that narrative anymore. But just openly talking about Civil War and, you know, just some of the other strange things we covered on Boiler Room on Thursday night, like Trump's executive order to bring capital punishment or, you know, death penalty to Washington, D.C., and, you know, people cheering for it, just like, oh, great, cool. You know what's punishable by death? Treason. So there's like all these Q people running around saying that, you know, that's why Comey's being arrested, and, you know, Clapper's next, and so-and-so's next. And,
even Obama, you know.
Yeah. Right.
Why not? You know, he was at the forefront of the Russiagate hoax. I mean, that was all a hoax. Obviously, we all know that.
Yeah.
And, you know, I think it's fair enough that the people who actively subverted democracy in that way should be brought to justice, should they not? I mean, do you not agree, guys?
On both sides, it would be great stride to pick people on both sides of the aisle that have been engaged in that for not just for that election, but for multiple elections. You know, that would talk about a chilling effect where a chilling effect deserves to be. Yeah. I just think a lot of people are so black-pilled at this point that they don't, you know, it's hard to buy. It's a hard narrative to buy at this point, especially with so many other narratives just falling apart around everybody right now. I mean, my goodness, like, people just don't believe anything that the government and the mass media say anymore.
No, and rightly so. But that's, of course, what von der Leyen was talking about. I don't know if you saw that. She made a speech to the European Parliament last week, decrying, and the Guardian have been on about it again today. They want to try and lump in any kind of dissent and, you know, disagreement with corporate media narratives as conspiracy theorist. And I've no doubt opposition to digital ID will be similarly misrepresented as wrong think in some way. I noticed a big Guardian piece about that today. And as I say, von der Leyen was on about it last week in the European Parliament. You know, distrust of government and institutions is basically what will land you in trouble. If you think the government is lying, then you are, you know, not just a dissident, but you're dangerous. You're a danger to others, and therefore you must be silenced.
Yeah. At a time when faith in institutions is at an all-time low, to me, that is one of just the most sickest ironies of this whole thing. It's like people's trust and faith in institutions at this point have probably never been lower. And that just means that this is going to be a melee when it comes right down to it.
Well, we've been discussing this, Hesher, that the solution is some other outside third party, i.e. they want to switch everybody to the AI government model, right? So, I mean, and an AI media model, which is exactly what and even that what von der Leyen said. I mean, what's the solution to all of these problems? Well, we just hand everything over to well, hey, this is I guess the AI would have the impression of not choosing a side. It would be like, I'm actually neutral. But are you really? Because you were trained on data coming from a society that is certainly split in many million different directions. It's a false paradigm narrative. It's not real. How is AI? I mean, like, we watch the Star Trek stuff, right? And you see, like, they just say computer and they just ask for a question and they get an answer. There's no like, well, this guy says it's that and this guy says it's that, and then now you need to put the two things together and figure it out for yourself and do critical thinking. Instead, you're just given the answer. You accept that as the truth, and now the state, the government, has become your ultimate source of truth, and that's what they're moving us towards. And that's That's not freedom. That is anything but. I don't know. I mean, obviously that's technocracy. It's all those things. It's everything rolled into one. And I was watching this clip. I think it was when I was on Weaponized News. Shout out to Sam Chaney and Weaponized News. Just on Friday, he played a clip of this like tech guy at some speech or whatever, and he was talking about, or he was a corporate guy. He owns something. He's a CEO. He was saying how like in the very near future, it's going to be considered weird to think. And what he was talking about is that, well, yeah, no, this is, and I was like, oh my God, this is crazy. But he's right, because we've offloaded so much of our thinking process to the AI, to the chatbots, what the students are doing right now. Like in a very near future, it's like I could be sitting in a room with somebody and I could have like a look on my face and somebody might ask me, what are you doing? And I might say, well, I was just thinking. It'd be like, whoa, what are you thinking, you weirdo? What was that? Like people, we are entering a society where people literally don't think for themselves. And what the hell does that look like? I don't want to know, but I bet you anything Tony Blair wants to know, Peter Thiel wants to know, Obama wants to know, Trump wants to know, Keir Starmer wants to know. They all want to know. Netanyahu definitely wants to know too. You know what I'm saying? So I think, again, this is the bigger elephant in the room, the technocracy.
They seem like they do know something we don't know. Otherwise, why would so much energy, literal energy, be going into it? There's the literal energy, there's the financial energy, there's the software energy, there's the human energy, the machine power. There's a lot of groundswell, political, financial, technological, going into what we're seeing right now. And they've been discussing it as one of their talking points at Davos and at Bilderberg and in CFR. It's been discussed for many years now. Many years. It's been a top talking point, and it always seems to have those Chatham House rules wrapped around it, where, we're just talking here. We're just talking. We talked about some stuff. I don't remember. I can't say who brought it to the floor. That whole elusive Chatham House rule thing going on almost behind it. I've got a headline here I want to show you guys, and I also have a couple video clips from Dr. Frank Romano, who is unable to join us today, but has submitted a couple video clips that I want to share with you guys. But before I switch gears here, anything further you want to say about the digital IDs and all of this?
No, I think we pretty much covered it. Big protests outside the Labour Party conference about it in England, and that's just the start. So if they think they're going to get this through in the UK easily, they've got another thing coming.
Yeah, not this time around, guys. It doesn't sound like it. This is a headline that's going to cause a reaction, I'm sure. Trump backs plan to make ex-UK PM Tony Blair interim administrator of Gaza. I'm just going to leave that at the headline level there for you. But Basil, what's your immediate take on that?
Well, I mean, it's absolutely nightmarish, isn't it? I mean, he was the so-called special envoy to the Middle East, part of a sort of tripartite US, UK, European Union non-existent peace effort. Basically, he's very close to Netanyahu. That's why he's being touted. That's why he is allowed to become, why he's being put forward. He's somebody that Trump and Netanyahu can rely on to do their bidding, while at the same time perhaps presenting some kind of, neutral front. Very close to Larry Ellison, who's been funding the spookily named Tony Blair Institute for Global Change. My God, that's the change is Holocaust in Blair's eyes, Holocaust and a digital prison. That's Tony Blair's idea of change. This is a total nightmare. I sincerely hope it doesn't come to pass, but who knows where we are at the moment.
It should be such a tough sell. That should be such a tough sell, and it's an impossible sell to the kind of people that watch this show and the type of guests we have. It's just like, no, it's a non-starter. No, thank you. We're not interested in seeing that. That is absolutely not what anyone wants to see. With
All of these stories are combining into one again. What is happening here?
Yes.
Larry Ellison, he was the one of the main recipients of the Project Stargate, the warp speeding forward the AI and technology stuff. Him and Tony Blair now getting all hooked up and involved with the Israel issue. Everyone close to Trump are not only technocrats, they're also like raving Zionists. I'm like, what is going on? So there's something about this prime real estate area behind me here that they want badly that is also part of this exact same agenda that we've been discussing, and I can't see the forest for the trees quite yet, I suppose, but we will have to wait and see.
Yeah, great comment there by Grape. Obama talked about change a lot too. Remember that one? We Americans didn't get much change, just a change in narrative. And then Chatter X follows up and says, by the way, Obama's political mentor was Blair. Good point. Good point.
Meanwhile, I don't know if you know, this very violent weekend on your side of the pond. A church in Michigan is on fire after several people were shot. It's a Mormon church, and the shooter is down. Then there've also been shootings at a bar in North Carolina, I think, and at a casino in Texas. So it's sort of all indicative of the, I mean, I don't know, you tell me, sort of powder keg atmosphere in the United States. Would that be right?
Certainly feels that way when you look into the lens of the media and the social media feeds. We also had a ICE station attacked up here in Dallas this week. A number, like too many more violent incidents and stuff like that than I was able to track this week. And this is all on top of, your usual, I haven't looked this weekend, but 40 plus people shot in Chicago. That just goes on every weekend anyways. But yeah, it's tensions are high, I think, for a lot of people. I find it intriguing that it was a Mormon church that had this incident, especially after the events of 3 weeks ago.
Yes. Very interesting.
Yeah.
I mean, why a Mormon church?
Right.
Yeah.
Well, we were the only thing. See, that's something that also has not changed, Hesher. Right? Are these events, these bang bang things all the time? But what has changed is the way that it's spun for the political agenda purposes and by the media. Usually, like instantly in the aftermath, we get the usual suspects rolling out with the usual talking points to ban the usual thing, the object itself, which is a serious infringement on our rights here in America. Everyone knows that. It's the Second Amendment, etc. But this time around, now we're all focused on any types of these events. If it's the bang bang, if it's gang crime, if it's shoplifting, if it's illegal immigrants running around in the streets with their motorcycle gangs or whatever, spinning donut tires or like it's crime. And now the answer is not to take away our guns. We're going to send armed troops to patrol the streets alongside MRAPs and tanks and drones and stuff like that. So that's a little different, right?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, I saw footage from Portland, which Trump described as a hell. They made a hell up there. And there was a guy playing some smooth jazz on a clarinet at a farmer's market, and very peaceful, affluent-looking streets and things. I mean, it just gives the lie to the complete nonsense. I'm not saying there aren't parts of urban America that are in serious decline and decay, but I think he might have picked on the wrong place. You've seen these armored vehicles rolling down the streets, empty streets very often. To what purpose? I mean, it's all been exaggerated out of all reasonably sensible proportions, hasn't it?
Yeah, it really feels that way. And it's not like it's something, as far as I can tell, it's not like it's something that the local sheriff's departments couldn't handle. This entire Antifa thing and activists that have gone a little too far, that kind of stuff. Like, there's no reason why the military should be being rolled out right now. In fact, many would argue it's illegal and it breaks posse comitatus rules. it's unconstitutional. Yet we're going to do it anyway because, during the Biden administration, the media got people on the right so whipped up about these topics that, same with immigration, this like they really, this is a problem reaction solution thing. It's very simple problem reaction solution sort of paradigm that's being fostered here. And apparently the solution is to break posse comitatus, to roll military into the streets, to threaten other governors with, military presence in their cities and stuff like that. And it's like, where were the GOP politicians while these things were allowed to get so bad? Where was the representation of the people that voted, even the Democrats in? Is this what they really wanted? Maybe if they're NPC and the media installed some sort of identity politic in them, it's what they wanted. But look at the result; it's not good.
Do you think it's for a continuation? Like they want that this is more like creating a new problem. They want us to react this way, get all pissed off, demand that they get all these cops off the streets, all the troops off the streets, and then of course replaced by who, the technocracy drones.
Yeah. That why not? I mean, just oscillate back and forth between right and left as far as the administration goes, and do things that are so egregious each time that it makes the political base more radical and more further away from wanting constitutional solutions and closer to wanting technocratic solutions. Absolutely, man. You can just see it. You can see the heat turning up on that.
Yeah, I mean, it does seem that political discourse in the United States has become more vitriolic than ever before. I remember the 2000 election, for example, Gore v. Bush. That appeared to be, the country split down the middle. But I don't think ideologically it was anything like as split as it is now. Am I wrong?
No, you're not wrong. You're not wrong. The whole politicizing of everything.
Yes.
That has really put us in a bad situation.
Yes.
Like we called Boiler Room a week or two ago. They got us right where they want us, at each other's throats. And we're at each other's throats over identity politics, worldview.
Yeah.
That
was a sort of an injection of sort of automatic hostility between groups, wasn't it? It was a sort of like, right, okay, you're now one of us. That means you have to hate them, and we hate you, and all the rest of it. Quite apart from other political concerns, identity politics introduced a whole new strata to political discourse, which simply didn't exist before, and which does very little other than set people against each other on the basis of real or assumed identity.
Yeah, exactly. All right, let me play these. I got some clips from Frank Romano here. Dr. Frank Romano was going to join us today, but unable to. So we're going to go ahead and play those. Basil, I know you got to get out of here around the top of the hour. Feel free to slip out if you need to, but if you want to hang out and watch.
Well, I just want to remind people that I'm on air again tomorrow at 1 p.m. UK time, 8 a.m. Eastern, if you're up for Ascending Order. Find us at Unprecedented TV on X or Unprecedented TV on YouTube. And I've got some great guests this week, Frank Romano amongst them, and some of the leading campaigners against digital ID. So promises to be a good week. Monday to Thursday, Ascending Order, 1 p.m. on YouTube.
All right. Excellent. Thank you for that. And thanks for being here with us, Basil. If you do have to leave during this, very much appreciate you hanging with us today. Here we go. This is Dr. Frank Romano from aboard the flotilla.
Yes, I'm on the Spectre this morning. And last night, 5 boats of the Global Sumud Flotilla were attacked. You can see they were attacked by drones. The first attack on our boat, the Spectre, took place near the kitchen late last night, right there. and a large explosion took place first. Then we heard large crashes on our upper deck that turned out to be balls of gas. It was determined by an expert that the gas was hydrogen sulfide that was dropped on our deck last night. The upper deck up there, we'll maybe be able to go up there. Sulfuric acid can cause itching, stinging in the skin and the eyes of nose. Low doses can cause like coughing, dizziness, nausea, and vomiting. But high doses of this gas that was dropped on our boat, the Spectre, last night. Again, we're part of the Global Sumud Flotilla. High doses of this gas can cause respiratory distress, fluid on the lungs, loss of consciousness, and cardiac arrest. It could actually kill a person. So this is very dangerous. And fortunately, members of the crew were able to wrap them up in blankets and throw them off the boat. There were several of those hard gas bombs sent to us during the night. And so we mobilized inside, put on our life preservers and our gas masks. And we're doing fine today. See, people are still asleep. It's almost 11 in the morning. We're trying to overcome lack of sleep last night, but we're doing well. And you can see we are with the other boats of the flotilla. Over 51 boats headed to Gaza together. We should arrive in 6 or 7 days. See that they're all out there. They're all together. Great sight. And the boat following us, yelling at us for some reason. You can see our dinghy is in back anyway. Thank you for viewing this. We'll have updates later, but we're we're up in our morale, upbeat, so to speak, and we're doing very well. We're not letting this sort of psychological warfare get us down. We're not letting it stop us. And finally, the Israeli government offered that we could go to Ashkelon, an Israeli port, with our humanitarian aid if we were, according to them, a peaceful organization, and drop off the humanitarian aid that the Israeli government will distribute to the Gazan Palestinians. But we don't trust that they will do that. Gaza is subject to a genocide. We don't see any motivation for Israel to stop this genocide and to distribute the tons of food, water, and medicine that we're carrying with us. So we're proceeding. We are ignoring this offer. And also, I must admit that the Israeli government is contradicting itself. It says once we arrive in the Gazan waters, we are breaking a legal blockade. In other words, they will stop us. And yet they say, we won't stop you if you go to this Israeli port and deliver humanitarian aid. So it's clearly contradictory. We do not trust what the Israeli government says. We will proceed to Gaza with the 51 boats and the humanitarian aid. Thank you.
All right, and we got one more ruckus from Dr. Frank Romano here.
Hello, here we are. Getting ready. We're putting all the boats together to start the last leg of our journey to Gaza. Here we are outside of Crete Islands. You see all the boats. And we are towing a boat. It's like an old fishing vessel that perhaps the motor's not working. Anyway, we are waiting for the final decision to group together the boats from Barcelona, Tunisia, Italy, and Greece, and finally head on our last leg to Gaza. It should take about 5 to 6 days, God willing. You see all the boats there in the cove over there. And we are very, very upbeat. We want to send a message to the Gazan people, to the Gazan Palestinians. We're on our way. You have not been forgotten. We're going to open up the People's Corridor. Then we're going to break the siege, inspiring other activists to follow us. So in other words, we're not giving up on this. We'll have massive number of boats by sea, and then hopefully a massive number of people continuing the March to Gaza movement in coordination eventually until Israel has to withdraw from Gaza with its aider and abettor United States war criminals and from the West Bank, and we can help Palestine to free itself. And as I've said a million times before, Palestine has led the way to the world to show we can resist this military industrial complex. We can resist this money powers that control the entire world today, either directly or with respect or indirectly with respect to Russia and China. They anytime any country that doesn't agree with the United States or Israel does something different, they're subject to sanctions. But we are saying we're going to free ourselves from the claws of this military industrial complex, money interests that control us, this oligarchy, this stifling, vicious, evil oligarchy that controls us, including that's really pushing to exterminate the Gazan Palestinians. We will free ourselves from that, God willing.
All right. Powerful video statements from Dr. Frank Romano there. You can catch him with Basil on Basil's show this week. He gave you the details earlier in the program here. Ruckus, pretty strong messaging. It's good to see the high spirits out there on the high seas.
Yes, it is. It's good, and they're going to need it because when they arrive, they're probably going to have to deal with this guy. So, yeah, what he was mentioning there, the money interest powers, the oligarchy, the military-industrial complex is all about to be replaced by this guy. So as long as they don't run into him or whatever that thing is when they get there, they should be all right. But yeah, no, again, clearly Israel has no intention of like safely allowing those people to deliver that food to the starving Palestinians, which is terrible. Hopefully nothing crazy happens. But if this turns into an international incident, this could very well be the aforementioned catalyst we were discussing, Hesher. You never know.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Well, I think we'll leave it there, Ruckus, unless there's anything big we've forgotten. We didn't talk about the Charlie Kirk thing, but I really don't think at this
point.
Well,
I don't think we need to discuss it here because I think Patrick might want to weigh in on this one. But Netanyahu certainly embarrassed himself at the United Nations. I'm sure everybody is already aware of it. So I thought it would be remiss if we didn't at least point that out. But yeah, don't drone me, bro.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up because that footage is very illuminating as far as, public opinion at this point, even international opinion. And then there was also that crazy stuff with him, talking about his new influencer base and all this stuff. I mean, there's a lot going on in the background, but I'm really glad you're able to be here with us today, Ruckus, as we covered this, which is the most important story as far as we're concerned this weekend. And big thanks to our guests and to Basil and to you out there for joining us and dropping all your comments. I tried to get as many of them up on the screen as I could, but they're coming hot and heavy today. So yeah, if you're watching this on the stream, you may want to go back and read the comments, watch it again, share it around. We really want to get these messages out this weekend. So Ruckus, thanks for everything that you do here at Alternate Current Radio and 21st Century Wire. And what do you got going this week? Make sure to give shouts out to where people can find you this week.
You'll find me in the Bahamas. After that, I'll be at Jamaica, and then New York City. No, I'm just kidding. I don't know. I'm just going to do my normal things. So next week, you'll find me at Weaponized News, co-hosting with Sam Chaney. I don't know what day that is. Maybe Monday. Probably Wednesday. Definitely on Thursday, you'll find me with this bearded dude for the Boiler Room, alongside some of our friends and colleagues and fellow, thought criminals, soon to be droned. But yeah, that's what I'm working on. I'm not doing Daily Ruckus currently. I got word slinger stuff going on, pretty hot and heavy right now. That's my business that I'm doing. So if you're out there and you need help with a website or graphic design, some content writing, if you're curious how you as a solopreneur or a small business owner can incorporate some of the amazing technology that I sit here and complain about on air, I can help you do that. But that's what I do. I go by the word slinger. So that's what I'm focusing on right now when you don't see me on air. But yeah, definitely check me out on Weaponized News. Check me out on the Boiler Room. And then I'll just throw it out there. I might be doing a Saturday night appearance with some of the AM Wake Up crew and the New Prisoners folks. So follow me on X, AC_wordslinger, to find out where to find me doing that. Okay. Thanks for having me, Hesher. Shout out to Patrick. Thanks for allowing us to host the show so that the fine folks out there watching and listening to us didn't have to go without, especially, as you mentioned, Hesher, during an incredibly important news event. So I'm glad I was here and that I made it. I'll catch you guys on the flippity flip. May God bless each and every one of you, and may God save this republic over here in America, of course. But just may he save everybody out there. May he save Gaza. That'd be wonderful. Thanks.
All right. Thanks, Ruckus. There goes Ruckus. We'll have him back again next week. And Patrick, thanks for letting us host the show. Big shout out to everybody viewing over there at 21stcenturywire.com. on the 21 Wire X account, the Rumble account, the Facebook, what else? The BitChute account, YouTube. Thanks everybody for hanging with us and resharing the show. We really appreciate that. This is a big, big show today. Big message out there for everybody. Important timing. So very, very stoked to have been able to be part of this. And we'll be back again next weekend. Patrick is out and about, traveling, doing some reporting, doing some writing, stuff like that. So if he's away from the bandwidth next weekend, we'll be here to cover for him. And I'm going to send you out. Well, actually, before I send you out with the wonderful music of Joseph Arthur, I also want to shout out the support link over there at 21stcenturywire.com. Please support 21st Century Wire and the Sunday Wire. AlternateCurrentRadio.com also needs your support. You can find all those links on our websites and on today's show page. So, and big shout out to all of the members and subscribers out there, folks that have shared the program, shared this stream today. I saw a few of you doing that on X. Thank you for that. And yeah, we'll be back next week with another edition of Sunday Wire. And we'll take you out of here with the music of Joseph Arthur. And we'll see you next week. Have a great rest of the weekend. And don't forget to share and like and subscribe. Do all that stuff to help us break the old shadow banning that holds us back a little bit on some of these platforms. So thanks again for being with us. This is Joseph Arthur. We'll see you next week.
Sides when their mothers cry, and no real way to justify their death that comes from an evil sky. Ceasefire now. fade. Ceasefire now. Ceasefire now. Ceasefire now. In Gaza somehow. This might be the last time to raise a hand about who we are. What's this say about who we are? 'Cause this might be the last time to raise a hand about who we are. What's this say about who we are? Digital images and digital lies cut out their heart along with their supply. The propaganda leads to dehumanize our fellow humans and silence their cries.